everyone. So I'm Kat, I'm the sustainability lead here at Twinkl. I lead on generating lots of resources related to sustainability education. We've got our Eco Adventurers curriculum scheme, which is a sustainability scheme, integrates into the national curriculum of the UK. And then we've also got our sustainability CPD, which I'll talk through a little bit later.
Hi, I'm Gemma and I'm the primary science lead here at Twinkl, and we've got lots of resources throughout the site, and some of those we'll be looking through later on, specifically to do with sustainability.
Hi, I'm Pete, and I work in the Twinkl Originals team, where we make ebooks and physical books, fiction and non-fiction. And in our library of books, we've got a lot of books with sustainability links, some of which we're going to have a little look through later.
Thanks, Gemma and Pete. So I am screen sharing at the moment, so that's on my other screen. So please don't think I'm being rude if I'm looking over in that direction. So as Emily introduced, this session is integrating sustainability into your primary curriculum. So why teach about sustainability firstly? So teaching about sustainability engages and informs our future generations, our young people, and it empowers them to address those environmental issues which we are facing today. And it empowers them to also tackle the causes and impacts of global warming for a future which looks sustainable. So with education in sustainability, leaders, educators, teachers can encourage that passion for the natural world. And just going a little bit off piste here, even this week I've had hedgehogs and blackbirds in my own garden. It's been really wonderful to see. So we want to sort of inspire those children to have that same passion. And it's also showing that children have ways to explore and protect our world, inspiring them to share knowledge even at home and within their local communities. With a current changing climate, which we know we're all experiencing, the increasing impacts of this are quite important to teach those future generations. So we want to teach that in a way where we're teaching about climate facts, but delivered in a way that's really conscious, not to trigger that eco-anxiety. So the Department for Education, Sustainability and Climate Change Strategy, this was released in April 2022. I have put links here which you can click throughout the presentation as well. So they stated that the strategy applies to all education levels and settings in England. So that's all the way from nursery all the way up to further and higher education. So by 2025, next year, all settings will need to have a nominated sustainability lead and put in place a climate action plan. So those are strategic actions to think of ways how sustainability can be integrated into the curriculum, but also ways of how a school site can become more sustainable and become more zero carbon. As part of this, one of the key actions is the National Education Nature Park. So this is a programme that encourages education settings, including primaries, to improve their biodiversity. So think about all the green, the grey space at a primary school or a nursery or a college. That space is underutilised, and they've got a programme to utilise that space by greening up certain areas, create rainwater gardens, lots of different actions to be able to make a positive difference to our nature's future. And then we've also got an exclusive interview with Dr. Laura Soul, who's the programme manager for the Nature Park, and you can check that out on the link I've put there on that slide. So how to actually integrate sustainability across the national curriculum for the UK. So we believe, and many others believe, a cross-curricular approach is essential, and it really emphasises that link with all subjects. And by embedding nature and sustainability into everyday teaching, children will see that relevance to real world scenarios and what they're seeing around them right now. They can then apply that to their own lives and pass that learning on to their families and local communities. So it's spreading that knowledge even further. And it's really important also to have lots of diverse perspectives on sustainability. So that's reflecting what's happening globally in the world, and look at the inequalities that might be happening, but also in local contexts around their local communities. So that might be involving students in active sustainability initiatives to have that sense of responsibility and ownership for their own local area. And by collaborating with subject leads, educators can also foster that cross-disciplinary understanding to ensure that comprehensive approaches from all the way from EY to Year 6. And then that allows that knowledge to be built upon and taken forward into secondary. Building on that though, CPD opportunities do need to be prioritised for teaching staff so that they are equipped, they feel confident with the accurate knowledge and skills to deliver those lessons about sustainability and climate change. Some of that content can be quite tricky, so that's a really important factor. So I just thought I'd mention this this company. So Teach the Future, the national curriculum hasn't been thoroughly reviewed for over 8 years. And there's no updates in sight. Who knows what's going to happen in the next election? We don't know yet. But Teach the Future is a student-led campaign, so it's led by the youth sort of organisation, and it's aiming to enhance climate and ecological education in the UK. And they provide 10 guiding principles to envision a new curriculum for England. And they have certain points about students appreciating the interconnectedness of living and non-living things and having that critical approach to sustainability. The learning should address eco-anxiety, but also empower student action. And then the creative thinking should be encouraged through debate, environmental learning, and more. I really encourage you to check out Teach for the Future because it does give lots of ideas in terms of how sustainability can be integrated into all the primary subjects. So here at Twinkl, we have Eco Adventures. If you've not heard of it before, this is our sustainability scheme of work. We also have lots of other products which integrate sustainability, and Gemma and Pete, who are on the call with me today, will cover in more detail how it's done in English and science. But as a company, we are dedicated to providing sustainability education across all subjects, having that cross-curricular approach. So our new upcoming schemes will be making a real conscious effort to include sustainability content, with also a focus on green careers and skills in these resources. I've got a next set of slides now where I list sort of ideas linked to the primary subjects and activities to consider for each primary subject. If you would like to also share in the chat any ideas that you've considered, that'd be lovely to sort of hear those suggestions. So in maths, in terms of sort of sustainability, you can have statistics by analysing biodiversity or recycling data at your school site. That could be presented in different charts. Utilise the problem solving skills in real world context. Apply mathematical learning to school estate data. So that's energy and waste recycling. So there might even be opportunities to work alongside the school business manager, the caretaker on site as well. And then comparing durations of events or trends by using or analysing the climate stripes by Professor Ed Hawkins. Now, this is fantastic. I really encourage you to check this out. This is by a professor who's at Reading University, and the stripes sort of represent the increase of temperature over many years of time with different colours. We've also linked some resources as well on these slides that you will be able to click through if they are of interest. For religious education, so it's promoting that element of stewardship, that care for our environment. We've got our Worldviews Religion Environment resource for Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 here, but also exploring the comparison in terms of caring for the earth and how that's addressed in different belief systems, which is really critical. A lot of compare and contrast comes into religious education, but it's how maybe the sacred texts and beliefs to different worldviews can link to that. And then finally, the events and celebrations, so harvest, Lahiri, Sukkot, which celebrate the earth, the seasons, and the importance for looking after the environment. In computing, so looking at the digital side, uses of technology and sustainability is intrinsically linked, and technology can actually help us mitigate and adapt to climate change. So this is a real key subject here, and we can look at how it can assist with climate change in terms of data modelling to tackle problems and make those necessary predictions. Coding could be linked to solve real-world problems with physical computing, exploring the use of technology to have that responsibility for the environmental impacts of digital tech, data logging around climate change or that critical analysis, and then also identifying sources of fake news and where to find reliable sources. This is really key because there's so much misinformation out there that heightens eco-anxiety. So it's a real key teaching point to make sure children are getting the most accurate information from the internet. In music, so this can be linked by sound bathing in nature. So take children outside, let them listen to the bird song and the natural sounds in the school field. Have musical composition activities inspired by the changing climate and landscapes over time. Perhaps making music using recycled materials to make instruments or sounds. And then understanding the link between music and activism and how this can be used to inspire change and inspire that future positive thinking. In art, so here you can create artwork to campaign or raise awareness. We've got some lovely art resources here which were linked from our art lead. Using natural materials as tools and activities. Some artwork can be used to also depict the changing world around us. So using recycled materials, for example, sculptures. And then there are some artists which have been highlighted here who have a focus on sustainability. So John Dawson, Megan Coyle, and Andy Goldsworthy. Andy Goldsworthy looks at using leaf art in his sort of pictures. And then we've got recycled materials, which Megan Coyle looks at. So in history, it's around framing local history around a specific tree or environmental landmark. So how has that changed over time? How has the settlement, the town changed over time? And how has the impact changed? Changing climates through history, looking at the impacts of colonisation is a real key factor here. So looking at the British Empire and how that's made an impact on climates across the world. Looking at how the climate has changed since the Industrial Revolution. So bringing that back to the impacts and the effects on the UK. And we've got a resource here which looks at how you capture carbon, but this sort of focuses on the impact of the Industrial Revolution within that. And then really importantly, include Indigenous sustainable ways of life, both past and present, because quite often they have lots of sustainable methods in terms of perhaps how they fish for their food. So geography, there is quite an obvious link with sustainability, but focusing on field work, because that's quite a key area for Ofsted to look at with the geography curriculum. Look at that collected estates data, using that real data and assessing it, analysing it. Learning orienteering skills in the natural environment can also be integrated with sustainability. Look at the global inequalities in terms of development. So maybe one, access to resources, access to those fossil fuels, but also the impacts of climate change can be really unequal across the globe. And then local climate changes, so bringing it back to the local area for the area around the school, but connecting the sense of place, so connecting it to their own locality. So in design technology, DT, so quite similar to art, it's thinking about how materials which would usually be wasted, how they can be reused. So how they can be reused to make something new, make something more useful so that it's not then going to landfill. Maybe using materials which are more sustainable, thinking about the environmental impacts of items that can't be recycled compared to items that have that sustainability element to them. And then thinking about the byproducts of design and production. So what is wasted? How could this be reduced? And then food waste is a huge one. So thinking about food waste, but food miles, environmental impact of food, especially bread that uses an immense amount of water to create bread products. And then in physical education and physical activity, so quite similar to geography, but with a PE sort of focus, having those orienteering activities that explore the local and natural environment around the school site. Rubbish hunt challenge as a team, so perhaps get the children to hunt for and litter pick rubbish on the site, put it in the correct recycling areas, promote that link between physical activity and the well-being benefits in nature. So perhaps that could be like a nature walk with the children. And then perform dances from different traditions. So that could be Indigenous harvest celebrations. And we've got some resources linked there, which link really nicely to PE. In PSHE, so you can teach about environmental rights, awareness, looking about who those notable people are at the forefront fighting for climate change. Link learning, similar to PE, to well-being, leading healthy, active lives through that connection to the outdoor and natural world around us. Cover positive climate protesting and activism, because quite often in the news, you know, sort of negative climate activism is highlighted. So we want children to be empowered in a positive way. And then looking at the inequalities of resources. So access to water globally, the sanitation of water globally, and that inequality of the climate change impacts, quite similar to geography there. And then in languages, so languages can be used to learn sustainability keywords in another language, but also celebrate those diverse languages spoken at COP. So COP is a global conference. We've got UNESCO, which has all global leaders attending it. We've got sustainability, environmental linked to future intentions in French and Spanish. There's a resource there linked for year 6 in Spanish. And then also learning about French, Spanish speaking countries and the climate of those places, perhaps how they have changed as well over time. And then I think this is my final one. So looking at extracurricular clubs. So this could be a school council looking at ways to make the school site more sustainable, get the children actually involved in actions that they can see change happening. That could also be a gardening club, so planting veg or pollinator-friendly plants. If your school or site doesn't have that green space, perhaps think of ways you can use the grey space around. So using planters, can you use walls to grow plants or beans perhaps? And then positive youth action. Again, I encourage you to check out this programme from Global Action Plan. And then a cooking club, so that could focus on the sustainability of food waste perhaps. So look at ways where food can be sourced local, maybe look at some plant-based recipes, look at ways that food waste can be reused in some aspects. So I hope you found those suggestions helpful. I've just got a few more slides here just to talk about what we have to offer here at Twinkl in terms of our sustainability products. So as I said right at the start, Eco Ventures is our sustainability curriculum, and it was initially created to engage those learners and equip the next generation with the knowledge, skills and values that they need to make a difference. It is designed to work alongside really busy teaching schedules. So as a previous teacher, I know how busy you are. I sympathise with that. And due to that, we have taken that feedback on board. It does seamlessly integrate with the national curriculum. We are really conscious of eco-anxiety. So we have a friendly set of characters to sort of lead the way. We celebrate the positives of sustainable news through our Spread the Joy and Happy Times. So Spread the Joy is actually a slide at the end of our PowerPoint, which links to the lessons learning, and it celebrates what is positive in that area of content. Happy Times is our magazine, which again has more articles within it. We're really conscious of as well for making sure that content is as accurate as possible. So we do work alongside the Royal Meteorological Society, where they ensure that the content is as up-to-date climate-wise as possible. Incorporating environmental issues into the curriculum also links to the step 4 of the Eco Schools programme. So you can use Eco Adventures to use as evidence. So this aids students in learning about those climate issues, and then you can notify Eco Schools that you've used some of these lessons for your application for the Green Flag Award. And ultimately, we want to help you guys, teach sustainability confidently. I'll just read the quote as well from the definition about eco-anxiety, because it is quite an interesting one. So eco-anxiety is growing, and it was described in 2017 by the American Psychological Association as a chronic fear of environmental doom. So it is regarding the potential environmental crises, and this fear is both on the rise with our local communities and across the globe. So if you think yourself, what we see in the news as adults, think about what children also see on social media, on the news, and how potential that can rise eco-anxiety. So in our CPD programme, we do have some resources which help to teach about sustainability. But here I've also highlighted how Eco Adventures links certain core subjects to the national curriculum. So in our water topic for year 3, to fish or not to fish, children are learning about different fishing methods and their sustainability. They actually look at Indigenous ways of fishing as well. But the skill that's practiced within that is word reading and spoken language. So that is explored through a debate activity. In another lesson, so this is in our Earth's Climate and Cycles unit for Y4, the lesson is when is 0 the best score? And children will consider the changes possibly that offset a carbon footprint. And the skills that are practiced are number, place value, and measurement, which are used within that resource. And then in science, which I know Gemma will speak about a little bit later, in our water year 5 lesson, when does water need to be clean? Children have that opportunity to investigate and discuss the importance of environmental hygiene for sustainability. So they actually take part in a hands-on activity to consider how soap can dispense microorganisms, and that promotes good hygiene. It links as well to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. If you've not heard of it, I just thought I'd give a little bit of a shout out to Count Your Carbon, which is a tool created by Eco Schools, or Keep Britain Tidy. So they released this in February of this year. It's fairly new. It is a free tool for you to use. You can access it on their website. I have linked it here when you click the Count Your Carbon logo down here. It helps calculate carbon footprints for your school site. So you can identify high consumption areas and generate tailored reports to reduce emissions. So they use the emission categories that are referred to as scope 1 and 2. So this is based on the greenhouse gas protocol. So what is looked at in the tool is waste and water, energy and utilities, school trips, so thinking about the carbon footprint of those, school uniform, food, general procurement, school vehicles, and staff and student commuting as well. So all of that data is taken, and then they generate a report for you. If you don't have that data to hand, you can sort of ask the tool to put in data which is similar to your school site in terms of size. So schools can join this initiative, like I said, for free, and the aim is to encourage schools to halve emissions by 2030. In terms of teaching, this data can be shared in classrooms, so it could allow teachers and students to analyse those results in lessons, but also identify how they can look at improvements together. What changes can they make to reduce the carbon footprint? Then perhaps in another year or so, they could redo the report and see how that's reduced. So mentioned at the start of this TeachMeet, we do have our sustainability CPD, which is a growing collection of resources. We are conscious that we want to support you to teach sustainability of how to integrate that into the curriculum. So we have that in bite-sized format in lots of different ways, videos, guidance packs, things like that. And we want to focus on the key aspects of sustainability and climate change in education. In terms of supporting you, we want to support you to implement sustainability and fulfill the DfE strategy actions. And some examples we've got is how to tackle eco-anxiety with the children, how to integrate sustainability into the national curriculum. It also summarises the DfE strategy actions document. We've got a resource on how to support children with SEND and lots of others. It's a growing collection. And just to sort of promote some new news, we are currently creating some new specific climate change CPD. So this is designed to upskill your climate knowledge. So as said before, climate change can be a tricky subject to teach. So it is complex. We want to make sure it is taught accurately, not to heighten eco-anxiety and avoid those misconceptions. And then here I've just tagged 3 resources, which are packs on how to integrate into the 3 core subjects, so English, maths and science. I think this is my final slide. So more recently, November of last year, we launched our Sustainability Hub. So this is basically a central platform on our website, and it's bringing everything together. So it's designed to support you guys, school leaders, educators, to align actions with the DfE's strategy as that evolves as well. So it has resources, curriculum materials, eco adventures is there, the science schemes that Gemma's going to talk about in a moment. It has CPD, leadership guidance, and we are also supporting the launch of the new Department for Education Sustainability Support Hub. So this is coming soon. You can actually click the link just to see the holding webpage on that. It is being launched this summer. So I encourage you to check that out when it is live. Okay, Gemma, over to you. Just please tell me when to click as well.
Thanks, Kat. So yeah, we're now going to focus on sustainability within science, because that was the one area that Kat didn't cover, and English, which Pete will do afterwards. So yeah, science plays an important role in covering all aspects of sustainability, and you can see on there, ultimately, through science, we want to develop in children a curiosity to learn more and further their understanding of how the world works, leading to confidence in their place as global citizens or equipped to face the challenges of sustainability. And this is the key to it. We want them to look at it positively and also proactively. Kat previously mentioned about eco-anxiety, and that's really our aim within Twinkl, that we want them to look at it positively, but not to see that it's all on their shoulders to do it alone, and it's working together. So again, as Kat previously mentioned, and linked to the DfE Sustainability and Climate Change Strategy, which I'm sure that you'll be familiar with. It's been out there for quite a while. There's been a few updates to it, but not too many, and you can see the updates as you go onto their site. But in 2023, and I have got that correct, it was 2023, the government did pledge that they would introduce a primary model science curriculum, and they said that this would introduce climate change as a concept to children in a coherent way, and that this model curriculum was to include an emphasis on nature to ensure all children understand the world around them. Unfortunately, this model curriculum, it still hasn't been published. It is still referenced in the DfE Sustainability and Climate Change Strategy, but not to worry about that. And the next few slides, I'll show you how the science team at Twinkl have approached this without that model curriculum in place. So without the model curriculum, there's still loads of ways and easy ways to integrate content about sustainability and climate change into the teaching of science. And Kat mentioned, we understand how squeezed those afternoon subjects are, and what is key is that this doesn't just become another thing that you're asked to weave into your curriculum and shoehorn it into. You're thinking, goodness, where on earth can I fit another thing into there? Because it is already tight. Science really does provide the perfect backdrop to be able to integrate the national curriculum core elements while still teaching about aspects of climate change. So to give you an example of this, one of our scheme of work for Science Planet, one of the units that we have for there is a year 2 unit about biodiversity and mini beasts. And within there, children learn about the importance of biodiversity, what an ecosystem is. The unit focuses on, we do look at native species, and this is really good, again, if you are looking at gathering data for your nature park as well, because it allows those two to sort of come together. While you're looking at this unit, you can also be looking at data gathering for your nature park too. They learn about the benefits of mini beasts for the planet and the important roles they play, including pollination. And just to sort of highlight this, so if you did add a unit like that into your Science Yearly Overview, you are covering key aspects of the national curriculum for things like living things and their habitats. I say the bee-friendly environment, which is a lovely lesson, but that covers national curriculum objectives for the Y2 for plants in there as well. And again, it's all about getting children outside, getting them interested in the local surroundings, so looking at understanding what is native to their local environment as well. So this is an overview just to show you, you'll all have your own overviews of why you teach your different science units when, but to show you that it doesn't need to be shoehorned into there. So for instance, you can see in Y2, we have our biodiversity unit in there, and it does come in summer 1 naturally. Summer 1, obviously the weather's not always that nice to get out in summer 1, it's been a bit wet, but it does make a really nice half term to put that unit into there. It does revise and revisit and allows opportunities for children to consolidate learning about things like living things in their habitats and plants. So you've got those retrieval skills in there as well, which is really good. So again, biodiversity provides the perfect opportunity. A lot of the focus within science at the moment is always, it has been for quite a long time, is work in scientific inquiry and working scientifically, and they can investigate using these different types of science inquiry types. And again, here in the Woodlice investigation pack, you can see how we've got those icons. So we've got comparative testing in there, and we've got pattern seeking. Once children discover the types of conditions woodlice prefer to live in, they can take simple steps to create more places for them to thrive. And that covers one of those 4 strategic aims in England, and better environment and enhanced biodiversity, and all sort of ties together nicely. And this is a different unit that we have. This is our Y34 Planet unit, reduce, reuse, recycle. Again, that's the 6 lessons where we have that real in-depth focus on that area of sustainability. And on the right, you can see this is just a document that runs alongside that, where it shows within that unit how we cover the 5 areas of different types of scientific inquiry. So naturally, it's lending itself to, if you've got that core priority of working scientifically, you can have the sustainability unit while ensuring that you've got that coverage as well. So different approach to integrating sustainability and climate change into science curriculum could be that you're taking a more small step approach to science within your school. And stepping into science is a different product that we have for science. And here it has a small step, so it covers a broader range of topics about sustainability in not as much depth, but it does provide that range of information for children on lots of different aspects of sustainability and climate change. So ultimately, it is down to individual schools or trusts to prioritise the integration of aspects of sustainability. But hopefully just that little overview has made you sort of see and consider it's not something that has to sit outside the specifications of the national curriculum. It doesn't have to be extra onto that. It's really easy to cover your core national curriculum while looking at different aspects of sustainability. And I'm going to miss this slide because I'm going to come on to Pete. I'm just conscious of time. Thank you, Kat.
Hi, thanks, Gemma. So I'm going to have a quick look over at sustainability in English and a little bit of an overview of what that looks like, and then what we can offer from Twinkl in the form of our books. One thing always worth noting as teachers as well, we know that at the minute with English, there's a bit of a push or a bit of a kind of focus on not necessarily allowing English to fall by the wayside or become a vessel for other subjects. I understand that at the minute, there's sometimes people will say we need to study XYZ topics, so we're going to use our English lessons to do that. And I know a lot of schools, a lot of places right now are sort of really trying to be mindful of not doing that. I think with sustainability, it is slightly different because we get a chance to look at something a bit broader and a bit bigger. And I think the key area that we can bring sustainability into English is that aspect that Kat spoke about right at the beginning of the children's own lives and the local environment and the local world. Obviously, I don't need to kind of spell out all the different ways that teachers can use English. We know these kind of really effective lessons and activities such as letter writing and things like that. But the really key sort of area I think that English can play a role is when it comes to kind of weaving in the local debate, the ongoing investigation into sustainability, the context of reading, writing, and specifically as well as spoken language. So bringing in sort of big questions about sustainability that then can inform debates, and then obviously the English lessons, the English activities can flow from that. And sustainability as a whole provides a lovely chance as well to give children exposure to new forms of writing and communication. This probably will be mostly the older children, but also the younger children as well. But by taking in this active interest that's promoted so heavily through sustainability, children will come into contact with these things such as white papers or press releases, government sort of government suggestions, ideas and stuff, and that can be a really interesting avenue to go down for children as well. And as has been mentioned, there's also the current events, local, social, historical, political areas for study. So quite a lot in English that can be unpicked. If we go to the next slide, please, Kat. Thanks. So just a few examples of that. Reflective journals, so tying in and weaving in quite well with children's own passion for the local environment, the world. Bringing in guest speakers, so again thinking about what's happening locally, what's happening on a wider level, any chance to bring a guest speaker in, and then obviously we know where the English kind of can flow from with that. Again, like I mentioned, research papers looking at these new contexts, these new styles of writing, and then reproducing it themselves. Collaboration's an interesting one with English. So again, if we're looking at local areas and what's happening locally, there's that area to sort of ingrain the school a little bit, begin projects, and it's a wider idea, but English does play a large part in that. And then finally, just on the top right there, I've just mentioned what we have at Twinkl, our Read, Write, Succeed unit, which is in its infancy and is growing, where we're working with some partners and some books of our own to kind of put together some interesting units of work, one of which at the minute is a Key Stage 1 unit of work based around the book Clean Up. And that's, if you get a chance to have a look on site, you can just search that with Read, Write, Succeed, Clean Up, and there's some nice resources around that. Thanks, Kat. So in terms of books that we make, so as a quick overview, because sometimes people aren't aware that we make books at Twinkl, but we do. We've got a team of which I'm a part of who make Twinkl Originals. We make picture books. Well, we go all the way from from 0 years old. So we've got first word board books. So we go right up to 11, the end of Key Stage 2. We've got some novels and some picture books. You can get all of our books as ebooks as part of a core subscription. We've also got listen and follow and audio books and that sort of thing as well. We do also have a range of physical books you can buy. If you're an Ultimate member, you can opt into Book Club, and you get one printed book every half term. Thanks, Kat. But more sort of specifically to this, how can our Originals book help integrate sustainability into the classroom? Well, key to what we do on Originals is the reading framework. And I think where that is most pertinent to bringing sustainability in is transporting readers to live the story. We all know as teachers the power of a story can have when it comes to sort of approaching difficult concepts or any concept really. And what we really try to do when we write our stories is to make sure that there's a good mix of something the children can recognize, something they can see from their own world, but also a diverse cast of characters and new things for them, so that there's ways that they can experience these challenges the worlds are facing, or these stories that are happening around the globe through the power of story. We also provide resources with each book. So every book we made has got a suite of resources that you can use in classroom, which makes the books a nice leaping off point. As we know, we're all familiar with using books in the classroom, but we really do try to keep that in mind when we're writing our books. There's a lot to be taken from them. So we do try to weave in a lot of different ideas in each book. So it's not just this book is about history, this book is about sustainability, but I have sort of picked 4 books that I think would help with this. If we are okay to go to the next slide. Thanks, Kat. So the first book, I'm just going to the first 2 books, I'll just do a quick overview of. These are 2 Key Stage 2 books, so 2 novels we've got. As I mentioned, you can read them all as a class. You've got the option to buy a class from our store, class set, or if you have iPads or any other tablets, and if you're an Ultimate subscriber, you can use learner logins, and the children can all have the book open as an ebook on their tablets. You can find information how to do that really easily by just typing learner logins into the site search, and it will take you there. Rainforest Calling is one of our popular books. It's a really fun book that follows a child in a school, so very relatable, going back to that idea of children seeing themselves and knowing how this affects their world. Child in an English school who is given a task of monitoring webcams in the rainforest, and it's written in a really fun way. It has diary entries, so again it's exposing children to a new form of narrative, new type of book, but it's very full of everything you'd imagine from Rainforest Calling. So the issues facing the rainforest are very, very prominent in the book. Caring for environment, climate change, loss of habitats. But with the introduction of the main character in England, there is a great chance in this book to sort of really look at the idea of eco-responsibility and globalization. So how sustainability affects us all. It was mentioned before about this idea of climate anxiety, and books can be a fantastic way of addressing that, of settling any anxiety, or maybe not settling, but addressing and recognizing anxiety through the use of characters. So it's quite a nice book, because although quite some unsettling things happen in the rainforest, the book has a nice conclusion. It moves to a good place, a positive place. So that can be quite nice for children to experience. Another book, Secrets of Sea Held, is a little bit more out there conceptually. So it's set in the far future, and the oceans have been overfished or overfished. I'm not sure what the verb there is, but there's been too much fishing. There's no fish left in the ocean. And that's quite an interesting one for opening up some discussions about protecting ecosystems, sustainable resource management. It's very much a what if story. Yes, Rainforest Calling is a paper book. Yes, we've got them in stock on our store. Again, you can, very easy to get to the store if you just was to Google Twinkl store, it will take you there. So yeah, we've got some of those. Secrets of Sea Held also available as a paperback as well. But yes, so Secrets of Sea Held, more of a sort of what if story. So discussions coming from there. And again, as mentioned, more of a jumping off place for that one. It's very much a fiction story, very much standard fiction as it goes, but lots of questions in there that can be explored. Over to the next one, Kat. Thank you. So yeah, two here. And these are the couple of picture books that can be used quite nicely. So you know, loosely speaking, EY, FS, Key Stage 1E type, but there are, you know, as we know with picture books, you've got the opportunity to use them with older children as well, if you see fit. The Undersea Cleaning Spree, it's a fun book. So the creatures get a little bit exasperated with all this new plastic, not sure what to do with it, so begin disposing it themselves by throwing it back out again. And it's quite a fun story that children will enjoy, but again, aim of the story is to promote that slightly more complicated for that age group idea that children, you know, haven't always grasped in early age about what are our responsibilities before we begin making plastic, before we begin making this rubbish. So it's a nice little way to sort of begin those discussions, begin those the seeds of those ideas linked to sustainability. And it also is quite a nice one because it explores the idea of being positive and proactive. So in the story, the humans of the story recognize the issues and begin to do something about it. They begin to sort of think what they need to do to change their behavior, how they need to live, but not necessarily with the negative slant of what do I need to not have in my life in order to help, but what can I do to sort of change the way I live so that, you know, I'm still living well and we're still a community, but we've done what we can to help the world around us as well. And then finally, The Messy Magpie. So that also is a fun kind of like very typical kind of picture book. The Messy Magpie, very similar actually to the Undersea Cleaning Spree in some ways. This time the animals of the forest begin to find rubbish and not too sure what to do with it. This one's quite a nice book because as part of the story, the magpie follows a recycling truck. It makes its way to a recycling plant, and the story kind of touches on the journey of the rubbish. So it's a nice one to introduce children to what's going on around us when these rubbish trucks we see out our window, what happens to the rubbish that goes in our bin. It's very visual as well, so harking back to that idea of, you know, in the reading framework and sustainability, what can children see around them, what's in their own, you know, talking very much obviously being based in England and the UK, but the pictures they'll see in this book will be very recognizable, the environment, what a bin truck looks like and that sort of thing. So it's quite a nice one again to open up some of those discussions, but also get children talking and thinking about what they can do for their local environment. And as mentioned, there's lots of supporting resources that can be used to support that one. Thanks, Kat. Okay, so yeah, just a few questions then, if you'd like to drop any into the chat. What other supports you'd be looking, what you'd need from Twinkl, any questions you'd like to ask us and resources we can create.
If you want to get in touch with us any other ways, you obviously get these through. We do have a Facebook page, a primary science Facebook page, a sustainability Facebook page, and also we are contactable through LinkedIn as well, which there will be a hyperlink through there. When you get the slides, there is also a Leaders podcast. There are all our podcasts on there, but if you scroll down, you'll be able to see the ones that are specifically sustainability related, which Kat has lovely voices on there as well.